Let's welcome in Tom Murphy here to the Morning Rush. Tom, speaking of what Tommy's talking, speaking your mind, one of your coworkers, Wally Hall, has done that for quite some time, and he's joining me today at 2:30 on Trusting the Process. You got a story or two that I should ask Wally Hall later on today?
Oh, thanks for hitting me with that out of the blue. Yeah. And while I think about it, I'll tell y'all, Ernie Johnson had to be the straight man pretty much, but he would get in a wisecrack here and there. And for the old-timers, his dad was a long-time member of the Braves broadcast crew. Right. So I think Ernie's done the family legacy well. But if you're a Braves fan, you feel like Chip Caray doesn't hold a candle to Skip Caray or Harry Caray. Those two guys are monoliths in the business, just big time.
That went downhill quickly in that lineage.
Chip just doesn't get it done. He's just not very good. I'm sorry, Chip. You're not.
He's not. You're right. So, what was the other guy on there? Pete Van Wieren. What was the other guy on the Braves broadcast in the 80s, 90s?
Well, I mean, Ernie Johnson, right. And, I mean, they had Milo Hamilton for a while, and
I think it was Pete Van Wieren and Pete Van Wieren and Skip Caray when I grew up. Ty's totally lost in this conversation.
Yeah,
Ty, when I was a kid, you either watched WGN and the Cubs, or you watched the Braves on WTVS, and that's it. That's what That's when you had 32 channels on your TV.
That's right. And
what's that?
Ty and his gen don't get that. They don't understand that.
Don't understand it. So, well, we haven't had you on since kind of the official announcement of Dowell Loggains joining the football staff. He's going to be the tight ends coach. But Tom, we've had a lot of conversation with different folks and amongst ourselves that the feel is he's going to be so much more than just a tight ends coach. He is going to be a real addition to kind of the offensive brain trust for this staff. What's your perspective on the addition of Dowell Loggains? I know it's a few days old, and the release came out a day or so, but this has been kind of out there. You've had some time to formulate an opinion. What are your thoughts on Dowell's addition to the staff?
I think it's a great hire, being an Arkansas guy, and then just understanding that he's seen all kind of offenses, and he's done it on the professional level. How do you attack what defenses are doing? I would think he would have a great head for helping with the schemes, and just a very engaging guy. I mean, very uplifting. Last time I saw him was at a pro day inside the Walker Pavilion a few years ago. Just reaches out, and I didn't cover him here in the early 2000s. I wasn't here yet, but he's made it feel like I know him in our few exchanges. So very welcome addition to the staff, I would say. And, I mean, he was an analyst with Penn State, but before that, I mean, it was one NFL job after the other. Mm-hmm. Now, he was working for some franchises that, not traditionally strong deals. I mean, he was with the Browns, he was with the Bears, and his work with Jay Cutler apparently is kind of it's the best that Cutler ever got. And I think Jay had his shortcomings. He wasn't real mobile, and I think Dowell got some of the best work out of Jay Cutler. So I just feel like he'll be a good fit to the mix for the Razorbacks.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what year exactly it was, but it was right after Tyler had, I guess it was 14 or 15. What year did we go to Houston and play Texas? Was that
the 14 season?
Okay, so it was right after that when Tyler Wilson was with us and started kind of working with us on a daily basis here in the Morning Rush, and we were month or two into to kind of beginning that venture together. And he got a call, and it spent a few weeks at least with the Bears, and it was because Dowell was there and he had an opportunity because someone knew him and kind of gave him a shot. And I'll be interested to call Tyler and get some of his thoughts on this, because for a brief time in the NFL, they were at least in the same film room and meeting rooms together. So there'll be another guy that I'll look forward to having back on the program soon and asking him about his time while being brief with him in the NFL.
Yeah, that'd be a great resource for you, and I do think Tyler could provide some real valuable insight there. But yeah,
Jay. I think Jay was in that room too with him too at that time. So
that's right. Yeah. So Dowell went on to the the Bears, and he was with Dolphins, and then the Jets, and those franchises weren't doing particularly well at the time. So kind of had a difficult run with the NFL teams for a while.
Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush. Tom, another thing that's kind of come out as of late. Yesterday, Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network released the NFL's protocols for vaccinated and non-vaccinated individuals. And my first thought always jumps to how is this going to affect college sports, most importantly, the Arkansas Razorbacks. And as a big Falcons guy, I'm probably assuming you saw this news. What kind of protocols do you think we'll see for vaccinated and non-vaccinated individuals this upcoming season for collegiate sports?
Well, that's a tough one, and I think fortunately for a lot of us, but unfortunately for John Rahm, he kind of set an example, I guess, that if you decided not to do it, then something could crop up, and it cost him more than $1 million because he was on his way to winning that tournament. Yeah. And so I don't know what kind of prize money he got as a non-winner, but anyway,
probably zero. So.
Yeah, I would guess so, since he had to withdraw, but I don't know how that worked.
Even if he had choked away the lead, he'd have gotten nearly $1 million to finish second or in top five, hundreds of thousands. So
that's right. Yeah, so I don't know. People can make their own decisions, obviously, but then when you're going to be in close contact with people, that impacts other folks. So no matter what you feel about the vaccine, if your job requires you to be around a lot of people, then maybe you just go ahead and do that. And so I know that the baseball team reached a point at Arkansas midway through the season where I think if they had 85% inoculations or double doses of the vaccine, that they didn't have to follow protocols in the dugout, which would have been, I guess, mask wearing and stuff like that. So thankfully the Razorbacks hit that, and they went the rest of the season without having to undergo those protocols.
And the question I had regarding that, Tom, is if you had it, you had the antibodies, and I know it's been kind of a wide array of the amount of time until you could get it again. Like, I'm going to be honest, like I got it. The first one, my arm was sore. The second one, I felt like a dog the next day. I felt awful. And I had to go home and literally sleep it off for a little bit. For someone that's maybe have had it once, like it kind of seems unfair that they're getting made when they potentially have the antibodies that have it, right?
I cannot tell you how that should work, or people make their own choices, and I just don't know what the medical authorities know about recidivism or getting it again. So all these governing bodies are going to have to make tough decisions. And honestly, with all the amount of young people who have their strong opinions about things, there's probably going to be some blowback and some resistance on people who don't want to follow the authority. It's symbolic of society right now that you can't get everybody on the same page on almost any issue.
The NFL has a different perspective than college sports because in the NFL you got 32 franchises and cities you're trying to protect with the policies you set from Roger Goodell. They've shown through the last year you can do without fans and still survive and even financially thrive in some cases that way because of television and players. So you got to protect your coaches, players, and your key personnel, and you got to keep the games on TV to stay in business. In college sports, that they're still reeling from not having fans. TV money's not enough because you don't have billionaire owners to shore up any losses. So, Tom, in college, when we look at these policies and how it's going to affect the sports we follow in close contact with the SEC football and all that, getting fans back in the stands is paramount to getting back on track and survival, I think, in some cases for maybe for lower level programs.
Yeah, there's no question about that. They've got to have the ticket sales, season ticket sales, and so on. But you're right, and hopefully we don't have to get to a point where you got to carry around a vaccination card. But who knows where that will lead? But I think the SEC schools are probably going to be in a good situation when this rolls around in the fall, and I think you're starting to see 100% capacity announcements at various schools, and I don't doubt that Arkansas, after having been able to do that for baseball, that when football rolls around, they'll be in a strong position, unless something weird happens. I mean, I saw on the news today that the coronavirus cases in some parts of Missouri, southern Missouri somewhere, are spiking a little bit. So you can't let your guard down. And I do think that a lot of people mentally, since we've kind of, I guess, gotten over a hump, have just gone out in public a lot, and who knows who's vaccinated. So, you got to keep your guard up, I'd say.
Well, we're just a hair over a month away from SEC Media Days. A few weeks after that, we'll be starting practice. So, I mean, it's while it seems like a long time, 77 or 8 days? 78 days till the start of the season.
Yep.
It's really a lot closer than we all think.
Tom, can you believe that Tommy's passing up all you can eat at Dave & Buster's this year, like we had this 2 years ago? Can you believe he's passing that up at SEC Media Days?
No, I can't believe it. I do hope they do that one again. That was a fun one. We got to play a lot of games and stuff, and I don't get to Dave & Buster's too often. It just seems like I'm too busy. But, Tommy, I tell you, if the Razorbacks had gone to Omaha and had a long stay, it would have been a very small gap between that and SEC Media Days and the opening of camp. They're taking away our summers, and I'm not happy about it.
Well, as a guy filling 3 hours of radio every morning, I was hoping we had a couple more weeks of baseball to conversate over. So,
yeah,
right,
how about those Atlanta Hawks last night, y'all? Was that not like a comeback for the
26 point? I know you probably didn't watch.
Y'all tell me about. Hey, you guys tell me about it.
26-point comeback for Trae Young and company. I was watching that with my roommate last night. My goodness, Tom, were you jumping out of your seat watching that game?
Well, honestly, I was watching some World Cup soccer and something else, and then I didn't know the game was on last night, and I saw an updated score. It was 105 to 104 with a minute something left. So I flipped over, and let me tell you, that crowd in Wells Fargo Arena, Sixers, they were absolutely stunned. Apparently, after they got the huge lead, nobody wanted to take a shot. If I can believe Twitter, nobody wanted to take a shot for the Sixers, and sometimes you end up, running into a big problem when you just keep passing the ball around.
Yeah, the Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, I was watching the game last night, just exactly how you stated, and just missing shots too. So good for your Atlanta Hawks. Hopefully they can close it out in 6, and Tom will close you out here, and we'll do it again next Monday, buddy.
Sounds good, y'all. Look forward to that.
All right, have a good weekend.